Hey Photos subscribers, I really like filming in the evenings. It's just, the light is so incredible. You have to do it fast though because the sun moves down really quick and it gets dark. But that's one of the reasons why I'm filming right now, the subject I'm talking about in this video, which is shadows. Because right now it doesn't look, looking at my camera here and that feedback screen, so it doesn't look bad right now. You see some harsh shadow from my hair of the sun against my face, but you don't really notice a whole lot of other detail, at least from what I can see on this feedback screen, of what other shadows are in the area. You can tell that the background here of this wall is a little bit dark. You can see some shadows across my face, but it's a little bit hard to tell where they're coming from. But now that the sun's gone down, the sun going down has changed the light. I am no longer visibly directly in the sunlight. I am in the shadow now. Maybe you could see a little bit, if the camera pointed up higher, you could probably see a little bit of my hair that's a little bit in the light of the sun. However, changing in this video from being directly in the sun, or as close as we can within about 2 or 3 minutes of sundown, quote unquote, in my backyard, the visual you could see, if you had a thumbnail of right now in the very start of the video, I would have a very warm glow, reddish yellow glow to my face. Right now, it wouldn't necessarily look like it, but there's a lot more green and blue in this video frame right now because there is less direct sunlight. That is shadow. That is diffused lighting, because there is still light. It's bouncing around in my little outdoor set here, but that is the difference between direct light and diffused lighting, or I just lost the word for it, shadow. Sorry, it's not that hard to remember shadow, but the point here is think about what you're looking for. What kind of light are you shooting for? Are you shooting for something direct and warm, or are you shooting for something a little bit shadowed and cool? The effect is very important. If you have a studio set up and you're looking to create a look or a place in mind where the subject of your photograph is supposed to be, but obviously they're not because they're in studio, think about all the little details that will communicate the atmosphere of where this person is supposed to be. I've created my own little atmosphere here, or created with the wall of the house, but there is detail in the brick and the lines of the brick. It's taking some thought as to what is around, what creates interest, what would be good, what would be bad, what's distraction, what is an attention getter. Because getting your attention can be good if it draws the viewer's attention to the subject. However, if something draws the viewer's attention away from something, it won't be that great because it's not drawing it to your subject. So think about those little details and do some very specific research. If you are doing a shot into something for someone else's product, make sure that you scope out where you're going to shoot very well. We'll talk about that as far as choosing a location, how you do that. Don't have to, but it really is good to go to that location and check it out during the day and the time that you're going to shoot. Other than that, setting up this area for the specific shadow. Starting out, when I was videoing this specific video, the wall was in shadow. My face was in direct sunlight. And you could still see a little bit, but it's really hard to see now. The importance is I had myself in direct sunlight so that I stood out from the background. There's no shadow of me against the background, but the background itself is shaded. So that draws a little bit more of the attention to my face, because my face is obviously got a lot more detail and lighting. It's a warmer item. I found commonly, maybe not everybody, but we tend to look toward those things that look warmer. More of the reds and the yellows. And that being said, with the wall being in the shade, it more than likely, at least I hope, drew your attention to my face instead of the wall. Now that I have the video going and the sun has gone down, so I don't have any direct lighting anymore, now it's going to be a little bit less engaging for me to be able to talk to you because I am now shaded as well as my background. Hang on just a minute. I'm going to go turn on the light and give you an illustration of what added light looks like and how I can do the same thing with the added light rather than only depending on the sunlight. I will be right back. So, you can't see it very well because it's just a floodlight outside. However, there is a little bit of a difference. I don't know. Jump cut probably wouldn't be that fun, not that intriguing or interesting, entertaining. But if you think about it, the floodlight lights the wall behind me, but there seems to be a little bit more light, at least maybe I'm just making it up. I'm not trying to make it up. I actually think that I can see in my camera the look of the floodlight on my face. So that being said, if we were to come out and try and film again in maybe 30 minutes, it would be even more dramatic because there would be less sunlight around. But that's the other key part in talking about lighting, which we will do later on, is the intensity of the light that you're adding has to be enough to be visible or to fill in with the lighting that is ambient to your setup. That being said, it's just a fancy word for making sure that your light is bright enough. All that being said, this is about shadow, and shadow can be important. It can be a cooling agent to your photograph. There's a lot of red and yellow light. Maybe the blue shadows, quote unquote blue shadows, are going to be something to help even out and balance your photograph. All that being said is just think about what's going on. Think about the shadows that are set up in your images, or if you don't want shadows because you're trying to focus on those reds and the warmth of it all. Very interesting idea. A lot of commercials and still photographs for ads may key off of the idea of being in a desert. So that being said, you could also, just completely avoid the blues and the greens and have these warm colors of reds and yellows all over, and direct sun and direct lighting in that regard, making sure that your lights are a warmer color. But play around with it. Maybe using shadow to shade your subject while allowing everything else around is something that you want to do. That's perfectly fine. We've talked about that a little bit in exposure, but part of the setup too is we've talked about ISO. You might want to adjust your ISO a little bit so that the subject you are imaging appears and actually is exposed properly, but the rest of their background is either too dark, underexposed, or their background is overexposed. But that would create some lack of tension on your subject if you're shooting if you are taking an image of an individual that can't deal with that much sun on them. So shade them and adjust your ISO to the point to where your sensor is more sensitive and you can properly expose their face, but not subject them to such light intensity for that long. Anyway, play around with the settings of ISO and learn how your camera adjusts to it, and learn how to adjust your camera for the settings that you need to have. I've started out doing a lot of photographs on subjects that didn't need to be, what's the word I'm looking for? They didn't need their situation prepared for them. I was shooting a lot of flowers or architecture, so I wasn't dealing with people that were very sensitive, their eyes or retina in that sort of respect. So I could deal with and play with things in lighting and position a little bit longer. All that being said, is shadow is a very useful tool. It's a type of diffusing the light, but it's also very important to realize how the other types of lighting differ. reflected light could be different than a simple shadow, or diffused light can be very different from reflected light. It takes time in learning what you are looking for and knowing what you need to add. But in that experience, don't ever forget what you need or what you use. I'm not saying you have to remember every photograph that you use, but what lighting it was and that sort of thing. But learn what you're looking for and remember that you have those things available to you. It doesn't have to be anything specific or wild. As a reflector, you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on it. However, you can take an old cardboard, well, okay, rabbit trail. We'll tell you in another video how to make your own reflectors. All right, everybody, have a great one. Subscribe, like the video if you'd like to, but please turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any other videos. Have a great one.